Hello everyone, welcome back to Explore China, Tansuo Zhongguo. It is Enrico Cordes here out of Mannheim, Germany. And in this video, I will try to keep it short. I will be introducing to you this book here, Has China Won? Written by Kishore Mahbubani and published just this year in 2020. Now, first of all, Kishore Mahbubani, he is a Singaporean with Indian ancestry. He has a lot of experience in public affairs and in international diplomacy. He, for instance, served as the president of the United Nations Security Council. He works, I think, since 1971 as inside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Singapore. And this book has 298 pages, 9 chapters, and it's quite easy to read. And the basic message out of this book is that Kishore Mahbubani, he claims that it is a very big strategic mistake of the United States of America that they don't have a strategic long term when dealing with China. Especially it is bad for the United States that they start this contempt for China. So the goal of this book, as Mahbubani says, is to accelerate thinking, hard-headed thinking and critical thinking about the relationship, especially for think tanks inside the United States, to rethink or first of all to develop a strategy on how to deal with China. At the beginning of the book, Mahbubani raises 10 big questions, and one of these questions is, for example, that American soft power has declined considerably, especially now under the Trump administration. And he asks to the American thinkers if America can win the ideological battle against China if it is perceived to be a normal nation rather than an exceptional one. And then he is discussing later the strategic mistakes which both China and America has made. Later he also talks about a little bit about the decline of the West. And he says that, for instance, one reason the West can no longer dominate the world is that the rest of the world has learned so much from the West. They have imbibed many Western best practices in economics, politics, science, and technology. And now, for China, there is a huge cultural confidence which the Chinese have had for centuries. Combined with what China has learned from the West, this has given the Chinese civilization a special vigor today. But now, without much talking, I will show you what was most impressive for me myself out of this book, and therefore I will show you this graph here of the history of economics. First of all, what we can see here is out of this 2009 years of history, we can see that India and China, out of India, China, Japan, rest of Asia, Europe, and the rest of the world, always or almost all the time have been the two biggest economic powers. Only since 1820s, Europe overtook China and India, and then also followed by the rest of the world and the United States in particular later. And I think this is very interesting to see. During this whole 2000 years period, or let's say 1800 years period, China and India always have been the two largest economic powerhouses. But only during the last 200 years, since the beginning of the 1900s, the Europeans and Americans, almost took over. And as Mahbubani argues, it is just very natural that this aberration in history, economic history, will stop and will redevelop again, and that India and China will become to its older strength again. And I think I agree on this one, because India and China are just like the two largest countries in the world with the biggest population on Earth, with China at around 1.4 billion and India almost at the same level. And these two powers, these two nations, they will become, I strongly believe, in the near future again the two biggest economic powers, and will overtake America and Europe soon again. And here's another very interesting graph, and this shows us the percentage share of world GDP, so of the world's gross domestic product in purchasing power parity terms. And we have here a comparison in dark gray, the EU, in light gray, the United States, then in dark gray is China, and then the other gray, other darkish, is India. And it starts from 1980, and we can see that the EU was here the strongest with 30%, the United States with 22%, almost 21.9%, while China and India only were at around 2 to 3%. Now this changed slowly until the year 2000. We can see the EU only with 23.7%, the US with 20.7%, and China already at 7.5%. Then, in 2015, we can see that China with 17.3% has overtaken the United States with 15.8%. And then already 2020, you can see China with 19% and the United States with only 14.7% and the EU with 15.6%. And then this prognosis here also continues the rise of China's PPP terms, the GDP in PPP terms at 20.6%, and the United States and Europe is still going to fall, and India's share will still rise significantly. And Mahbubani is showing us this graph with telling us and trying to raise the doubts of a lot of American politics and government spending, and he argues that the United States should rather care for their internal conflicts and internal government spending into infrastructure, which is lacking according to Mahbubani a lot. And he says, for instance, that in America, the Americans are not aware that the average income, the bottom of 50% of the average income of the population, has declined over a 30-year period already. But on the other hand, Mahbubani also explains the strategic advantages which America already has, such as that they have the best universities in the world and being able to attract foreign talent. And then now a quote from him is, "Unlike most countries, America willingly accepts foreign-born people as their own if they succeed in America. Hence, in recent years, many of the chief executive officers of major companies have been foreign-born US citizens, including Indra Nooyi of PepsiCo, Sundar Pichai of Google, Satya Nadella of Microsoft, and Andy Grove of Intel. It's not a disadvantage to be foreign-born. By contrast, no major Chinese company or institution is run by a foreign-born individual." Now then, he is giving us many very interesting examples about China and United States in comparison, who is running away from global organizations. This is now, of course, the United States under Donald Trump, while China is, as Mahbubani puts it quite good in his words, he says that there are inside the UN 193 nation states are members of the United Nations. One simple question we should ask is, which country, China or the United States, is swimming in the same direction as the majority of the other 191? As the main global multilateral institutions were all created at the height of American power. In recent years, America has, as I just said, been walking away from these institutions, while the rest of the world, especially China, has been walking toward them. Yes, inside Mahbubani's books, he's talking about many interesting topics and raises good questions and gives us a lot of interesting information. And there's another sentence I want to quote, and this is this one here. "Yet the only way for China and America to learn to work together is to understand where both sides have gone wrong." And now I want to add, and what he also says and recommends is that both sides should have good strategic thinkers and good diplomats to sit down and work together a good plan. Because I also think that we are in this world, it is not one nation which can win, but it's the whole world we should care about. And yeah, I think this is what Mahbubani, what he thinks is most important, and I agree on this. And this is again, why I can recommend to read this book. Okay, so this was it from my side. I'm very happy that you watched this video. And at the end, I can recommend you one thing, and this is to go to Daniel Dumbrill's channel. He's also a YouTuber making videos about China. He has much more subscribers than me. And he also got an interview with the author, with Kishore Mahbubani. And it's around 1 hour of length, and it's a really good interview, I think. And you can see how the author is, and then just can reconsider if you want to buy this book or not. And I can just recommend it. It was cool to read. And yeah, as always, if you have some books which you would like me to review, then just let me know and write it into the comments. Or yes, just some some recommendations for me to read. I would also be very thankful for you for this. And then I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.